All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Patriot Underground. Today is Thursday, July 23rd, 2026. Thank you so much, folks, for joining me to discover the truth beneath the surface. As always, I really do appreciate everybody out there taking the time to listen. And today, doing something a little bit different. It's my pleasure to welcome my good friends, Ethan Lucas and Matt Geiger, to the show. Certainly, folks who have been following my channel undoubtedly know at this point that these two gentlemen are extremely knowledgeable in a multitude of different ways, as I'm sure they're going to further demonstrate throughout the course of our discussion today. Not only that, they are the top sponsors of this platform, which I'm very proud of, given the quality of service and products that they offer to my audience. Ethan, of course, is the founder of what is rapidly becoming known as the top nutraceutical company in the world. That is Syrona, of course. And indeed, he is an expert in nutrition, amongst so many other things. He's an author of several books, a seasoned podcaster, a dedicated truth teller with an absolutely brilliant mind. He brings invaluable insights into so many of the topics that we delve into when we're discussing the Great Awakening. And it just so happens that he has cooked up another promo exclusively for Patriot Underground listeners, as we're going to get into a little bit later in the show. You're definitely going to want to take advantage of this limited time opportunity. So, Ethan, let me start with you, brother. It's a pleasure to welcome you back. How you doing today?
I'm good. How about you?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm feeling good. And, I'm surrounded by great company. And I know this is going to be an excellent conversation. I love to get different dynamics, like different groups together. You never really know what's going to emanate from that. You and I have had a great conversation, actually, not too long ago. It was just about a month ago. And folks really responded to that promo of REDOX and CYMARA. We're going to discuss, like I said, a little bit later in the show. So it's great to see you. And looking forward to your take on a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. Well, and real quick, too, just for your listeners, your viewers, as I explained before when I came on here, that was a pre-launch sale, hence the discount, because we had so much excitement at the event that we did here on the New Earth Project in Tennessee. Matt was actually here. Matt, I think you probably heard from Scott. I don't think you were actually witnessing it when it was happening, but we brought hundreds of people up on stage to try the CYMARA, the gel, the biophotonic cymatic gel, and people were using it, and literally their range of motion, like in their neck and their shoulders and back and all the pain and all that stuff, just like this, just gone, and everything was great. Well, the range of motion got better, and the discomfort was gone in like 30 seconds. Christine Geiger was the only one that it took like 5 minutes for her to notice, but it worked on her too. And some of those people, including Christine, said the next day, 24 hours later, it was still working and they hadn't even reapplied it. So it is amazing. But that's what prompted the idea to do the pre-launch promo with the discount, because it was going to take us a couple weeks longer than normal to get it out there. But we did have a mishap with the label maker, who I've been using for almost 2 years now, and I'm this close to firing them, because I'm not even kidding a little bit when I say that we had to send back those initial labels, which pushed this back another week and a half. It's been about 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks now since that launch, but we were expecting to ship those out already, but I had to send the labels back because they were all jacked up, not acceptable. We got the new labels in earlier this week, and I'm not even kidding. They messed them up again, Ben. Matt, they messed them up again. But at least the labels are printed correctly this time. You know what? Here's what they messed up. They put them on the rolls that go on our machines to put the labels on the jars and the bottles. They put them on 90 degrees shifted, so they would have been sideways. So here's what's happening right now, and we appreciate your patience, and I just ask for just a little bit more patience. Everything's getting shipped out as of yesterday and today, so if you already ordered, you're going to get it here in a few days. But everybody at our warehouse now is having to hand apply thousands of labels, as we have our label maker once again send us new labels that they messed up twice now. So that's what's going on with that.
All right. Well,
the product's good, so that's all that matters.
Absolutely good,
but we don't make labels, and I can't control that. So,
yeah, well, anyway. It's what's inside that really matters. But of course, you got to get the presentation right. So, appreciate you updating us on that. And like I said, a little bit later in the show, we're going to pull up the Syrona webpage. We're going to talk a little bit about this special that Ethan is running. Every time we do it, there's a huge response, and I think today is going to be. It's going to be the same type of situation. Folks recognize how good these products are, and you're not going to want to miss this opportunity. So a little bit later, we'll circle back to that. We'll pull up the Syrona webpage, and we'll have Ethan just lay it on us and tell us about his latest products, and we'll talk about the deal that's going to be for a limited time only. So once again, Ethan, welcome. And now I'd like to welcome back my good friend, Matt Geiger of Verity Metals. I always sing his praises. I know he enjoys that. He is the best in the business. He really is, man. You know, there's a reason that everybody out there who's in the truth community, for the most part, is at least aware of Matt Geiger. And those of you who have done business with him know that he is absolutely top notch. He's an expert in precious metals. He's a gentleman who operates his business with the highest level of integrity, which keeps people coming back again and again. And as Matt's going to explain to you guys throughout the course of the show tonight, we were talking a little bit about this backstage, given the what appear to be the sizable cracks in the bond market that we actually talked about during our last episode together. It's becoming increasingly evident in terms of not only the increasingly high yields due to investor hesitancy over the debt, which is approaching, I believe it's over $39 trillion right now. And the inflation worries driven by the tensions in the Middle East and around the world, particularly oil and energy flow. So now is an absolutely perfect time and an entry point for folks to purchase precious metals, gold and silver. I typically recommend, as does Matt, Silver Eagles, just because they're just very practical. But he'll talk a little bit more about that throughout the course of the show. And by the way, if you haven't done so already, and you happen to have a 401k or an IRA, you should be rolling that into precious metals. And Matt can help you do that. You can actually set up an LLC for you folks. Is something we've talked about in the past, which enables you to hold your own metals, because as everybody knows, there's that common sentiment out there. If you don't actually physically hold it, then you don't own it. As opposed to putting it in a depository, which some people choose to do, to each their own. But this is a huge draw that many people out there in the audience have taken advantage of. So awesome to have you back, man. How you doing today?
Thanks for having me, man. It's hot. You know, we're going to have like 116 here in Arizona. And I got to just real quick plug for Ethan. Ethan, this stuff.
Yeah, the skin spray.
The skin. I'm telling you, man.
That's why I'm almost 50 years old and I look like this, because I put this on 5 times a day. I'm
telling you, bro, you know, the sun in Arizona, when I lived in California, the sun got along with me, but the sun in Arizona, it's like brutal, right? So I'll go out, I'll try to get a little bit of color this time of year. I try not to get too much, but I'm telling you, man, when I burn up a little bit, I put this stuff on, I'm good. I'm telling you, anybody going out in the sun, put this stuff on. After you come in, I'm telling you, it's unbelievable.
I've had, again, I'm not making, and I refuse to make any medical claims because I don't need to, but the body heals itself when you give it the right things. But I've had a lot of people, I can't even count now, more than I can count on 2 hands at least. People come back to me and say, hey, I got sunburn and I sprayed the skin spray on and it was gone the next day.
Yeah, it's really wild. Great. I mean, I'm just a gold dealer over here. You're actually improving people's health and wellness. I give you a lot of credit. And
improving people's finances, which makes them able to improve their health. So
it's true. Yeah. And I appreciate you, taking us down to Tennessee. It was great being there. I just got off a lot of travel prior to that. So I was just like, I was totally out of it. But I had a great time in meeting Sasha Stone. What a guy. The entertainment, those singers that you had at that, that upper level bar. The bluegrass band was phenomenal. I was talking about the girl and the guy that were
the ones on the day before. Yeah, if you guys didn't make it to the event, you missed a hell of a weekend.
It was great. Yeah, they were all phenomenal,
amazing stuff.
Phenomenal musicians, and I couldn't have had a better time, man. So thank you for that. That was awesome. And I'd never been to Tennessee.
Even better.
I'd never been to Tennessee, so that was my first time, and I'm sure I'll be back. And like you, I'm just to give people an update. Verity Metals, my company, we're going to start working with dog rescues. And I know Ethan's involved in that, so if we can help out in any way financially, we're down to do it.
Yeah, that's one of the things we do here on the land: horse rescue and dog rescue. Yeah,
Michelle, who works for my company, we had to put her husky to rest yesterday. Rough experience, break just the worst.
That's
but I was thinking about it prior to that too. But I think it's really important that we help the animals at a time like this, and we don't forget, those guys, because
we did.
I just got dogs.
Why, it reminded me when I just got a big hookworm infestation in the dog park here for them, and I had to clean it all out, start all over, dig it all out, put all new gravel in. deworm them, take a couple of them to the vet. One of them had to have a blood transfusion. It's bad. And here's the thing to think about with it. It's serious because it can kill them. But these little guys, they have no control over their own destiny. They're completely reliant on good people like Matt and all the rest of us to actually help them. They can't do anything for themselves. They're living in our world. And if we don't help them, then that's it.
It's so important. And you've done amazing stuff, Ethan. So I give you all the credit in the world. If there's anything we can do, just say the word, man. We got it.
Appreciate it.
We got it.
And I know the little fuzzies appreciate it too.
See, this is the great vibe. I kind of had a feeling we're already off to a great start. Lots of love here between the three of us, and certainly it exemplifies how each of us in the Patriot community, we try to help each other out and we try to support one another. And I know Matt has been at the forefront of that. As Ethan is very much an activist as well. Matt's given to several different causes. I remember not too long ago you pledged, I think it was with Joe and Scott, 5,000, and Mark Abrams as well, 5,000 to children's charities as well. So that's something that's really important.
No problem.
Maybe we'll do it that a little bit later in the show, but certainly these two gentlemen are, as I said, of top-notch character and integrity, and I'm very pleased to have met them and made their acquaintance and developed a relationship that continues to get better as time goes on. So before we get back into talking about your own specific areas of expertise, I mean, I know you guys are, in addition to being knowledgeable about so many different things, including nutraceuticals and precious metals, you guys are just great anons and truthers, and you have a very solid grasp on the overall picture. So I thought we could maybe begin our conversation today by discussing some of the recent developments and just get your take in an attempt to provide a big picture overview of how both of you are viewing the landscape right now. So I thought we could start with President Trump's landmark speech last week outlining the details of the election theft of 2020, something we've been waiting on for quite some time now. It's going on 6 years. And some of the key points, obviously, I'm not going to rehash his entire speech, but some of the key points being that China played a central role. They compromised 220 million U.S. voter files, hacked into the system, got all our information, etc. He also mentioned that upwards of, I think it was pretty close to 280,000 non-citizens are registered to vote in federal elections, which I happen to think is probably on a lowball figure, but nevertheless, that's a lot of people. 250,000 non-citizens registered to vote in federal elections, including, of course, illegals and dead people, etc. And he also touched upon the vulnerabilities in the voting machines, which we've long known, the ballot systems, etc., mail-in balloting, and widespread voter registration fraud. Now, all of this stuff came to the fore in our community. None of this was a surprise, and we knew about this 6 years ago. In fact, many of us knew about it long before that. But the president came out, he made a big speech, and a lot of people got really excited about it. So I'm kind of curious to hear where you guys stand on that. What were your reactions? So Ethan, why don't we start with you?
Well, I got to say this. We obviously, like you already said, we know that stolen elections have been going on forever, but I hate to burst a few bubbles, but both the Republicans and the Democrats have been stealing elections probably since Kennedy, maybe even before that, because I've read about stuff where before the Civil War, when Abraham Lincoln got elected, even that election with Abraham Lincoln, that was all meddled with even back then. And they didn't have the kind of technology and stuff that we have now. So I try to encourage people, as much as I know there's a bunch of chicanery and screwballness going on everywhere. I want to encourage people to understand that if just me, and Matt may disagree with me a little bit, because I think he probably still is a little bit more on the Trump train than I am right now, because I love 45. I question 47, but I think there's a bunch of screwball stuff going on both sides. And I think really the important part of this and what's happening is showing everybody that you can't just pick a team, because both teams are corrupt. You got to understand the whole thing is corrupt, and we got to burn the whole damn thing down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, I am in complete agreement with you. I'm going to pass it over to you, Matt, in just a moment, but I'm in complete agreement with you that both the Republican Party and the Democrat Party are just wings of the same bird. We've known that for a very long time. The Uniparty, this is nothing new. And during our last conversation, I remember, Ethan, we kind of talked about what seems to be this new tactic with the White Hats, where they're almost like pushing us and forcing us to question them as well. Like you talked about during Trump's first administration, there really wasn't a heck of a lot to question. I mean, that was like Q was still sort of in its infancy at that point, and we hadn't gone through the fake Biden years. I mean, there were a lot of things that were different back then.
Yeah.
But the optics of this administration have been questionable, to say the least, on a multitude of different levels. So I'm increasingly convinced. I know I talked with Louis Herms about it as well, who's also a mutual friend of all of ours. He's very much in agreement that it's almost as if they're trying to induce a certain level of cognitive dissonance into our community. We often talk about the target audience being the normies. And on one level, that's absolutely true. But no doubt, in my mind, they're doing exactly the same thing to us, but for different reasons, to try to get us to break our matrix programming a little bit and force us to question everything. And as I've said many different times, even though Q told us in the drops, question everything, I think we're all sort of built and wired that way. That's the reason that we're anons. That's the reason that we're awake and so many people aren't, is because we question everything. And the cult-like sort of mentality that's taken hold in our community, certainly over the past couple of years, is a bit concerning to me as well. And I've talked about that because at a certain point, if you lose your sense of objectivity and you're no longer thinking critically and you're no longer willing to question your leaders, you kind of fall into the same trap. It's like you go full circle back to being asleep. And that's not where we want to be. It's always been a hallmark of American patriotism to always question people in power, no matter how much we might love them, no matter how much we trust them. You don't give a rubber stamp and put blind faith in any man. That's my take on that. Anything you want to add to that before we pass it to Matt to get his take?
Well, I would just say, one mistake I think people make is, believing that election manipulation is either Republican or Democrats on one side or the other, but history does not support that at all. So I'm not even making, I don't think it's a controversial statement. It's a historically accurate statement. You'll find that all the frauds happened on both sides, even before the machines. But the bigger story, and I know Trump was talking about one election, the bigger story than that is that powerful institutions have always influenced outcomes. Even before we even had the republic, there were political outcomes that were influenced with monarchies and other forms of government worldwide. So that's true whether you're talking about political machines like Tammany Hall, Jim Crow era, voter suppression, ballot fraud in local elections. It happens even more in local elections than what you probably even realize too. The media influence, there's 10 ways from Sunday they can steal the elections. Intelligence operations. I think what you're seeing and what we've been seeing with the Q operation is that they recognized, what you would call the black hats, recognized pretty quickly that we were quickly becoming the most trusted form of media and free speech, and they couldn't shut it down. They tried. I was kicked off of Facebook and YouTube for years, which is why I never even went back. For a long time, I was only podcasting on my own website, ethanlucas.com. But I've been able to stay on Rumble consistently for a couple of years now. So that's where I'm at. But they infiltrated, they hijacked the Q narrative. And I can't even tell you, Ben, we talked about this last time I was on here. I can't even tell you how many times in writing my book series, The Jesus Q Connection, doing all the research, I saw so many, and I still see it. Just tons and tons and tons of claims about what Q said that Q never said, not one single time in the drops. So there was clear, like monkeying and toying around with the perspective and the opinions in the Truther and Patriot movement about what Q actually said and what was happening. That was never even in the drops. And that was the infiltration. That's an example of quote unquote election interference, because they do it the same way with elections. Intelligence operations are sneakier and more powerful than what you think. Campaign financing. Louis Herms just found this out. I mean, these guys have a bazillion ways to screw stuff up and gerrymandering and all these other things. But even social media algorithms. I mean, it's wild. It's not just a one thing problem. It's not just a Dominion machine problem. It's not a one party problem. It's not even a modern day problem. This is something that I'm thankful now this is finally coming to surface. Hopefully people are taking it serious, that this is a widespread global. When I say global, I mean globally in the whole entire United States government and our society and our culture. It and it happens in other countries too, but I think the United States is actually the worst. And the reason why is because the United States is the most wealthy and most powerful. So that attracts all the parasites to come here and try to manipulate it worse than anywhere.
Yeah, well, they're putting on one heck of a show right now. And I want to get Matt's take on this as well, but it's gradually exposing that despite all of the gaslighting that we've faced our entire lives, we've been subjected to about America, you know, the home of the free, land of the brave, and all that. I mean, right. The reality of the matter is that we kind of live in a banana republic, and that is being exposed in a major way. Whether or not you believe that the white hats and the Q operation is behind that, as I do, or whether you have a different viewpoint on it, regardless, that seems to be being made very obvious to the masses out there. And whether or not it's moving the needle on public consciousness is a separate question that we could talk about. And indeed, I wanted to get into that a little bit. But before we do, and I get too far ahead of myself, Matt, give us your take on that, on Trump's speech. I mean, there was a lot of fanfare leading up to it. I've kind of learned to a certain degree to temper my expectations, because it's not the first time that Trump has said this is going to be one of the most important days in the history of our republic, and it's Liberation Day, and we're in a golden age, even though so many people don't feel like we're living in a golden age. So I wasn't really sure what to expect, but I saw the speech. I thought it was massively significant, but the most important thing in my mind is how does it leverage us? How does it get us closer to the all-important justice phase, which in my mind is the only thing that's really going to shake people out of their apathy and wake them up. But over to you, man. What was your take on this speech?
I mean, I would take it like this, is, you know, kind of like what Ethan said. You have 45, which Ethan you like, and then you have 47, which you're not liking so much. But what about 46? Right? Trump came out and specifically said he was 46. So he was president. We know that. Continuity of government, right, et cetera, et cetera. I've gotten to know people like Mark Cook, Dr. Doug Frank, a lot of the guys involved, Lloyd Brunson sitting here next to you. Lloyd stayed at my house. You know, these are all, you know, these are all friends of mine. And I think when you look at their presentations, it's undeniable that there's voter fraud. And I think what Trump's doing is he's now releasing it at a crucial time, because we're approaching a midterm. I don't think you're going to have midterms. That's my opinion. I don't see how you can, because the vote was already cooked in the primaries. I mean, our good friend Lewis obviously didn't win. I mean, he was shut out. I mean, that guy should be suing Facebook. That guy should be suing Google. I mean, Lewis should be the wealthiest man this side of the Mississippi in the next 2 years if he played his cards right.
He should sue Israel.
Lots of luck.
But no, I think, you know, what Trump's doing is he's always planting the seed, and these primaries were completely and totally cooked. I think more and more of the voter fraud, it's got to get to a point where everybody's just got to see it. It's like, this is undeniable. And I think Spencer Pratt, whatever you think of him, I like the guy. I think he did a great job. It's obvious that guy had the election stolen from him as mayor of Los Angeles. It couldn't be clearer. And I think guys like the people I mentioned, Mark Cook, Doug Frank, Dr. Frank, I think, you know, if you ever go to their lectures and sit down for the, you know, 2 hours and listen and look at the evidence that they're presenting, that's the hard part, right? It's everybody's got these short attention spans. It's like, no, you have to sit down and you have to get a real education on this stuff. You have that situation, you probably know of it, Ethan. I don't know if you know about it, Patriot, but Red Belly Road, right? Red Belly, all the election fraud's happening through the Census Bureau. The whole census has been cooked. Forget the mail-in ballots or the machines or any of this stuff. They were changing the names of roads. Red Belly Road is a road in Florida that they changed the name to Red Belly Road. And I forget the guy's name. I've met him. Trying to think of it. If one of you guys know, let me know. But he went door to door. They changed the name back to the name of the street after the election. But they were sending ballots, and this guy went to door and eventually found somebody that still had the piece of mail showing that it was sent to Red Belly Road. Okay, so
I never heard of that, actually.
I hadn't heard of it either, but yeah.
It's even beyond, the fraud is even beyond what we think it is. The machines, the mail-in ballots, the duplicate, right? The ballots that weren't actually stamped at the post office, right? Blah, blah, blah. They're literally controlling this. The epicenter of this is the Census Bureau. So the Census Bureau, and I think, and this is what I think gives me hope and gives me confidence, is that Trump's the kind of guy that's going to let people fall on their own sword. And my guess is that he's been investigating the post office. He's been investigating the Census Bureau. We're not going to hear about it. We can only speculate. But it would seem to me that if I know this information, you don't think Trump and his people don't? You know what I mean? So it's like,
Right.
I'm very positive about what's coming. But hey, we have to have the scare event. We have to have people brought to their knees to understand, hey, here's what's really been going on. Here's what's happening. And that's when I think you can drop the child stuff and the trafficking and all that kind of stuff. But I think right now, I don't think you're going to have a midterm. I think, and look, think what you want of him. I know Juan's been wrong about a lot of stuff. But he's saying that we're not going to have a real election from the midterms. First off, the midterms these elections in November are cooked already. It's going to take about 1.5 to 2 years in order to start having elections again. So what happens now? And it's a great plug for gold and silver.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
it's great for gold.
I'll caution you of something though, and I'm not doing this to fearmonger. I'm doing this because I'm a realist and I'm a strategist, and I look at every possible scenario, and I'm smart about how I do things. And I think everybody needs to take this approach. What I don't like is the treasonous new merger of the IDF with the United States military.
I saw that.
Now take a pause for a second. Think about what can be done with that, with all of this ramping up and this new talk again about the election fraud. And we've already set a precedent to have ICE, which are law enforcement officers who have limited authority, by the way, which they seem to ignore, violating people's Fourth Amendment rights every single day of the week, U.S. citizens even, and especially. But we've set a precedent now. We can have a standing army on our streets again. We've now merged the IDF with the U.S. military. Now, all that's going to happen is the comment that, well, we need the military and ICE and other law enforcement to come together to protect the election integrity and take control of it. And you can read the rest of the writing on the wall from there. I think it doesn't take a genius to figure that out.
I saw that, and my thought was, what if we took control of Israel?
Well, that'd be great. And I thought of that too, because that is a strategy. But what if that's not what's happening? Because at the end of the day,
that is very scary.
The ultimate solution, and Q said this ad nauseum from beginning of drop one all the way to the end, we should not be trusting politicians more. We need to be, the solution is trusting them less. The solution is trusting the system less and verifying more. Stick a fucking, sorry about, pardon the French. I know you want to try to stop
PG-13.
that stuff on your show. What's that?
PG-13 is what we got.
Yeah, I apologize.
Even I dropped an occasional F-bomb, so no worries.
So I know we need to, they want to stick flock cameras up our butts. We need to do that to them. We're the bosses, we're the masters, we the people are the kings, the sovereigns of the government. The government's public servants, they serve us. We need to have mass surveillance 24/7 up their butts, not the other way around. And we need to get back to the point, once we do this, get back to the point where people are not accepting this idea that the government should be telling us what to do. Then now we can get to a point where the elections almost don't even matter anymore, because now we're electing administrators to administrate policy that will never infringe on our rights, which it never should have to begin with, but now it does. But if we're in a place where we don't have all these codes and statutes and policies that are infringing on people's natural God-given rights, then it's not even really going to matter all that much. Like, elections are going to be like, well, I might vote this time, I might not, don't really care. I don't care if this paper pusher's in here or this pencil pusher's in there. Doesn't really matter. That's where we need to be, because that's where it originally was. The reason it's so serious and we have such a problem is ultimately we've let the system get out of control with its power. It should not have this kind of power. The president, we shouldn't even give a flying hoot about what he even says half the time. He should come on TV maybe once or twice a year and say, well, this is going on with these numbers and this and that and the other thing. And then most people won't even tune into it because it shouldn't matter. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
We need to get back to being a free people in a free country. We are nowhere near that.
And this is why I think also the Brunson case is so significant, is because Lloyd's just one of us. His brothers, they're trumpet players, So I think the implications of something like the Brunson case, which a lot of people, anybody out there, I talked to Lloyd, and let me tell you something, that case is alive and well. And that could very well be Trump's play at the end of this, is get us to such a point where that scare event happens, but you still have the the harness of power, and then boom, you kick everybody out of government. 95% of them go to Gitmo, and we clean up the mess ourselves. Because you're right, the government should fear us, not the other way around.
Right. Well, that's always the way it was. I mean, this nation we have now looks nothing like, not even close. It's not even a similar representation at all. Like, not even cousins. I mean, forget that. I mean, we're talking different races here. This is not even close to what our founders set up.
That's right. No, I couldn't agree with you more. And actually, I wanted to dig into that a little bit. You brought up the Section 219 of the NDAA, which essentially it's a merger in many different ways between the U.S. military and the IDF. It's causing quite a stir for good reason. And as you know, this bill passed the House yesterday, and it's on its way to the Senate. Now, according to the language of the bill, this subsection directs the Secretary of War to designate a Pentagon quote unquote executive agent to oversee and to synchronize bilateral defense technology efforts. That's the way it's worded, including coordinating research, development, testing, integration, industrial cooperation, identifying Israeli origin or jointly developed technologies for potential integration into U.S. systems. I'm reading basically off the text of what the bill talks about.
Well, we know what the text always says and what it actually does. I
Well,
mean, look at the Patriot Act.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. And then it goes on to talk about protecting sensitive U.S. technology and national security interests. And they talk about key areas of focus, including counter-drone systems, missile and air defense, AI and quantum, autonomous systems, directed energy, advanced sensors, cybersecurity, electronic warfare, biotechnology, and medical defense, et cetera, et cetera. And despite the fact that the Pentagon has essentially pushed back against this idea that it's a military merger, we both, all three of us, and I'm sure pretty much everybody
know what's going on.
We know what it really is.
Barks like a dog, you know what it is.
Yeah, right. And so, but it's really interesting because there was actually a post by a guy I've heard of him before. He goes by Bad Hombre on X, and he put this out. I wanted to share this with you guys and see what your thoughts are. He says, bookmark this. This, by the way, was yesterday. Bookmark it. Here's what's going to happen. I'll be pleasantly surprised if I'm wrong. The full Save America Act was attached to the NDAA, which you guys just brought up a moment ago. It passed the House today. Now, here's the key. A watered-down version of the Save America Act that promises financial incentives to states that voluntarily adopt voter ID over a 10-year period was attached to the Reconciliation 3.0 framework. See, a lot of people don't know this. It also passed the House today. He goes on to say John Thune is going to cave to the Democrats and his fellow rhinos to remove the full Save America Act from the NDAA and pass it. Then he's going to pass the meaningless, watered-down version of the Save Act in Reconciliation 3.0. And this is the political game. This allows Thune and his rhinos to hit the campaign trail and say, we did something. This is why over the past week, you've been hearing the rhinos say, we're going to, and this is true, we are going to try to get as much of the Save Act as possible passed. And he ends it with saying they've been conditioning you to accept scraps once again. And I read that, and I have to be honest, that resonates with me. Matt, what are your thoughts?
Oh, totally. I mean, I think this is part of the bigger picture, which is, Trump's letting these guys go and do what they need to do. He's bringing us to that collapse, that hand of God moment. And I think you have to let these guys kind of run wild with their crazy agendas, disappoint everybody. And, they think, because in the process, they think they're winning. They think that they're beating Trump. But really, at the end of the day, they're putting themselves in a very unfavorable position. And I think when future events start to take place, whether that be, right, we're going to talk about bonds and the whole bond market collapse and all kinds of stuff. I think this is going to coincide with a lot of future events. So I think that, right, it's always about the timing, as they say, right? I think the timing of this stuff, when people start to see these different events happen, and these guys are sitting there celebrating, meanwhile the economy is on fire and the financial system's ruined. Are they even going to be able to celebrate these wins? I don't think it is. I think that these guys are they're digging their own graves.
Ethan, your thoughts, buddy?
Well, if you're talking about the Save Act exclusively now, is that what you're asking me to comment on?
Well, yeah, the attempt to water it down by attaching it to the NDAA and then pass like a
yeah,
BS.
no, and I get what you're going. I just wanted to make sure that's one you wanted me to answer on.
Yeah.
Here's what I like. If we're going to have elections, and I'm an anarcho-capitalist, I'm basically like George Washington. A lot of people don't realize this, but George Washington was an anarcho-capitalist. If you study what he believed and what he did, he didn't like government. He succumbed to the idea that, well, at this point in the 1770s, we probably still need government. So let's do this. Let's form a republic that is ruled by the people, give the people all the power and all the freedom so they can basically be anarcho-capitalists. And by the way, the word anarchy doesn't mean lawlessness. It means no rulers. They lied about that because they didn't want you to think that anarchy was a good thing, because it actually is. That's precisely what our founding fathers were. They were anarchists. They didn't want any rulers. They were done being ruled by a crown. And they were all capitalists, right? So that's precisely what all of our founders were. They were anarcho-capitalists, and that's what I am. I mean, you can call me Patrick Henry, basically. Give me liberty or give me death. I don't care. I don't want government. I would rather see no government. I believe most of our founding fathers felt that way. But if we're going to have it, it needs to be that's what needs to be watered down. The government itself needs to be as watered down as possible. And if we're going to have elections, which you would have to have if you have a government, obviously, I don't think it's unreasonable to require that only citizens or members in that government, right, they vote in federal elections. Most Americans, I think, regardless of your party or your political views, would actually support that idea. But here's what gives me pause with it. Again, I'm the world's biggest skeptic, and I think it's important to be skeptical, because if your idea can pass the ultimate skeptic's test, then you've got a good idea. If not, you need to go back to the drawing board. But here's what gives me pause. What it does is it actually expands the federal role in elections, which is dangerous. Historically, states have administered elections under constitutional and federal statutory frameworks. And the SAVE Act actually increases federal standards, and in some versions, it expands information sharing with federal agencies such as DHS, which I'm not a big fan of. And for people concerned about, federal power, like myself, that's worth discussing, regardless of which party's in office and regardless of what you think about the elections and how this should go. So my point is this: if you don't want Washington today, why would you? And I don't think most of us do. We don't like DC, right? We call it the swamp. So if you don't want that today, why would you build a system that requires that Washington becomes even more involved tomorrow?
Well, that's a good question. And I guess my counter question to that would be, because I firmly agree with you that we don't want more centralized power, but at the same time, we also want free and fair elections, as long as we're going to have elections and going to have a government. So what would be the middle ground there to ensure that could actually happen? And in other words, what would Ethan Lucas's version of the SAVE Act be that would mitigate some of those concerns about expanding the power of the federal government's role in elections? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, burn the whole damn thing down, then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, but for the time being, you need to, in a sense,
no. Right? Yeah, go ahead.
You almost need to strengthen the federal government.
Patrick Henry, man.
I think in the meantime, you do have to strengthen the federal government, because that's the place that really we have most of the control.
Yeah.
Right. We don't really have it at the local levels. We really, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's true. But we're depending on Trump to really work a lot of this stuff out for us. Yeah. I mean, if he doesn't do it, we're pretty much screwed.
Well, another thing I have a problem with, speaking of Trump, is he'll sit there and bitch about the mail-in ballots, right?
And then encourage people to mail in their ballot.
He literally just did a mail-in ballot for himself. It's like, okay, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
that's part of the cognitive dissonance that I swear that I kind of referenced a little bit earlier in the show. I mean, Trump has done that so many times on so many different issues that at this point you kind of have to be brain dead to not pick up on at least some of it.
Yeah.
And I think it's required. I think what it comes down to, it's required for this moment in time.
Yeah.
But moving forward.
Let me make a point about that real quick. So I've noticed something interesting, and I think this is good for everybody, not just this audience watching, but everybody in every political or anti-political affiliation. I've noticed that Republicans tend to emphasize preventing illegal votes. That's great, right? Makes sense. We want a fair game. Democrats tend to emphasize preventing eligible citizens from being turned away. And Whether you think so or not, I can tell you that is a real problem. I've seen it happen, especially in the disparaged areas. I'm not a wokest person. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just being real. This happens. So these are not mutually exclusive goals if you look at what's happening. So I think a well-designed election system should actually do both. But the deeper issue isn't, again, it's not just election law, it's public trust. That's all gone. That's out the window. If half the country thinks, regardless of what you think about this, whether you agree with half of what I said, all of what I said, or none of what I said, doesn't matter. If half the country thinks elections are insecure, the whole entire system doesn't work. If the other half thinks the eligible voters are excluded, then it still doesn't work, right? So we're at an impasse here. The goal should be a system that's both secure and broadly trusted. What does that look like? I don't know, because I don't trust the government. I never have, and I never will. Again, I'm Patrick Henry.
Matt, go ahead. Go back. I want to hear more of what you were talking about there, and then I'll make a couple points. And
I think you have to get to this point where you have to almost strengthen the federal government to bring it to a point where you can start taking. I think we talked about this, Patriot, is arrests. We got to start seeing arrests. I think that's the key. We need to start seeing people being arrested. People need to start going to, whether it be Gitmo, whatever prison it is. I don't care. But we got to start exposing. And I think 2020 is going to be a great catalyst in showing people, getting people to believe that, hey, 2020 was stolen, because they're seeing it right now. They're seeing it with the midterms. And I think if we have this election, the midterms, it's going to set us back. I think we need to pause things. Trump might be a king for a while. Trump might be he's going to have to do things that are beyond the scope of, running through Congress. Maybe we're under military law, right? Martial law. But something's got to be done. I think people really have, and he's going to get, of course, the media is going to go crazy. They're going to say, this guy's crazy. He's stopping elections. He's Hitler. He's this, he's that. I think we have to kind of walk through that fire, and it's going to be unpleasant at first. But I think in the end, you have everybody's attention, and you can start bringing up things like Red Belly Road and what the Census Bureau is doing and what these different organizations behind the scenes. I mean, the 2020 election, that was counted over in Serbia, right? John Brennan was half owner of the building that the vote was being rigged in Serbia.
Yeah.
John Brennan's directly connected to this stuff.
But so there's so many. Time this happened, Matt, was the Civil War. So I can tell you what you're already talking about. You're talking about a guaranteed Civil War 2.0.
I think there's ways. I look, what did Q say? The 17 cities will burn. I don't think it'll fully escalate to a civil war, but I think it'll get very close. I think you're right about that.
Well, you guys, you hit on a lot of really important things. And I tend to agree that, first of all, I'm a pretty fierce libertarian, just like Ethan. So we're kind of like, we're kin in terms of that. But I also see a lot of the virtue in what Matt is saying as well, that given where we're at right now, that the federal government seems to be probably our only hope of getting through this without having to go through a civil war. I mean, the one thing that we can all agree on, I hope, is that that despite all the other negative optics of this administration, the border is closed. All right, there haven't been any more illegals, and if you get some sort of effective form of voter ID and clean elections, that could pretty rapidly turn things in the right direction. Right, it's not going to solve all of our problems overnight. It may require some sort of a national emergency. And as a matter of fact, in the wake of Trump's speech, that's what a lot of pundits and people were saying, that this seems like an opportune time to declare a national emergency to get this thing done. He keeps talking about terminating the filibuster, which I know, Ethan, we talked about last time.
Yeah, that can go so far south for everybody.
It goes sideways. And, in order to support that, I think you have to be of the opinion that you have to be totally on board with Q. Like the D party isn't going to exist after this anymore. That we're never going to have to worry about that boomeranging back on us. But I remain a little bit cautious as well, because the reality is we simply don't know how that's going to play out, and whether or not terminating the filibuster could come back to haunt all of us in the process. But, you touched upon something. I think you mentioned, it was Ethan, restoring trust. And ultimately, and Matt also mentioned it as well, something that I've been talking about quite a bit, which is justice. I mean, the only way, in my view, it'd be great if we had a clean election, clean midterm. I tend to think we are going to have the midterms. Anytime we get into this discussion about, oh, the elections are going to get postponed, or, it just always, it never happens. And I don't really feel like that's actually going to be the way it plays out. I'd love to be wrong if it moves us in the right direction. But as far as restoring trust, what does that really require? Maybe we can delve into that a little bit. In my view, it's accountability, justice, and ultimately transparency. Those are the only things. And I mean like hardcore, radical transparency that are going to restore the people's trust. And if you look at just about any poll, whether you think that they're skewed or not, when public opinion is so aligned in a certain direction, even skewed polls can't hide it. All Americans, like 9 out of 10 Americans believe that the government is corrupt. 9 out of 10 Americans believe that there's really no justice. There's no real transparency, that the government serves its own interest, the interest of the lobbyists, the power players, like we talked about. That's actually one of the things that gives me a lot of hope. And what I believe is the true driver behind the Q operation is, despite the optics of division, is kind of hurting the general population, despite where they happen to be politically, on what side of the aisle, whether they still believe in the two-party paradigm, or whether they've identified the uniparty. Getting them to acknowledge that this is exactly the problem with government. It's a two-tier justice system. There's no real justice. There's no real transparency. There's no accountability for the crimes that have been committed. And that's also what's driving a lot of the frustration within our own community. I've been very vocal about that as well. Like, at a certain point, you have to stop talking about it, and you actually have to hold people accountable if you actually want the public to wake up. Because unless you do that, and unless you start also forcing the mainstream media to cover it, people aren't going to really pay attention. No matter what you put out there about election fraud, no matter what you put out about the Epstein files, the satanic ritual abuse. I mean, we've seen so much of this actually come out of the shadows or the fringes and be exposed to the normies, and yet there really doesn't seem to be much movement of the needle on public consciousness. So maybe we can talk about that a little bit, just in terms of the overall trajectory of the operation. I think we can all agree that the disclosure phase is revealing quite a bit to the general public, like I just mentioned. But the question on the mind of so many people out there, particularly my audience, is what is it going to take in order for us to arrive at the justice phase, which would, of course, force the mainstream media, like I said a moment ago, to cover the perp walks, the trials, the subsequent jail sentences, executions that will inevitably come from that. And I've repeatedly made that case that it's the apathy and the brainwashing of the masses has become so fortified and so ingrained over decades, generations even, that it's going to take some pretty dramatic action to shatter the matrix and move the needle on the consciousness of humanity as a whole. Q alluded to this in many different forms, foreshadowing a precipice moment, a scare necessary event, talking about the EBS. So with that said, why don't we talk a little bit about that, gentlemen? I'd love to hear your thoughts on the big picture of how you see this operation, because I know you all believe in Q. We have different angles and viewpoints on it, but we all solidly believe in Q. So big picture here, how you see the operation progressing in terms of the awakening of humanity and what's necessary for us to begin the next chapter, like to flip the page on this exposure phase that we're in, and we seem to have been in for quite some time, and all of these relentless psyops, and actually get into the real meat and potatoes that's going to wake people up. So, Matt, why don't we go to you first this time?
Well, I think the stage has been set, right? So you have the healthcare system, medical, you have the judicial system, and then you have financial. We've seen the medical and we've seen the judicial. We haven't seen the financial yet. And I think the stage has been set with, for example, COVID. COVID was created in order to steal elections moving forward, completely take control of the population. We would probably be taking 20 vaccinations a year had they been able to just continue to rig elections and just continue as business as usual. Mm-hmm. Probably most of the country would have died off in the process. We'd probably be down to a fraction of our population, which would have been their end goal. So I think to your original question, which is to restore trust, I think it's about exposure. And we've seen the exposure in the medical situation with obviously with COVID. We've learned that these vaccinations are total BS. These things are creating turbo cancer. They're creating all kinds of health issues for people, heart issues, you name it. Died suddenly, what have you. We've seen the judicial system. I think we're still in the process of trying to clean that up. I mean, Trump was put into a kangaroo court for what? For a narrative. I mean, I heard that Ergodon guy, that judge in New York, I mean, allegedly, he took a $10 million bribe to do what he did. And plus, all these judges, these other judges behind the scenes, these Obama-appointed judges, etc. And that's, again, why the Brunson case is so important, is because these people would be instantly out of their positions if the Brunson case were. That's why it's so significant. And I would tell everybody to continue to watch that. But I think what's coming is going to be the financial. Right, we were talking about before the show, pre-show, Patriot. The bonds. These bonds are about to explode. And I think that's going to be, it's always when people get hit in the pocketbook is when people really start to react. And it's unfortunate, right? I mean, I think we're awake. I think this audience they don't need to get hit in the pocketbook to understand this, but there's going to be a major financial crash here. It's going to be 2008 on steroids. 2008 was just the mortgage-backed securities. Those are just mortgage bonds.
And they bailed it out, so it was softened.
It was softened, exactly. They bailed them out with 40, 50 trillion dollars that they claim it's like 2 or 3 trillion, but it's like 40 or 50 trillion.
Yeah.
And then we've been running this phony economy ever since then. This time it's going to be literally the entire bond market. I'm talking treasuries, right? School bonds. Our friend Lewis talks a lot about school. This stuff is, and they're not going to be able to blame Trump because this stuff was created well before. They've been looting the system through the bond market. Mm-hmm. It's actually very clever when you think about it because it's money completely off the radar. But yeah, I think the financial crash is looming, and wouldn't surprise me. Hey, if I don't think we're going to have midterm elections, I don't see how we can. Again, I look at Spencer Pratt. The guy clearly won the mayoral race in Los Angeles, and now you have these two clowns, this ramen noodles lady and Karen Basura, who's a Castro follower. She used to go to Cuba and watch Castro live.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to take a lot of exposure of these people, and to build trust. I mean, that's going to be a massive task. And I think what we have to do is we have to get redemption first. I think we have to go after these people, get payback, make everybody feel like, hey, these people got payback, and then maybe we'll be open to a peaceful resolution. But until they get payback, that's what has to happen.
I agree with that. And also people are not angry, merely because their candidate lost an election. I think a lot of people have kind of condensed it down to that idea, and it's become like that. And it's annoying. Like I literally feel like it's literally red team versus blue team now. Everyone's just like in a stadium with their colored jerseys and hats on, Rudy, and they don't care what happens as long as their team wins. But at a core level, I think it's because they know that they've been screwed every step of the way, everywhere. So that's the last thing they feel like they can control. And that's why they do that. Because at the end of the day, I think they're actually at a root level, they're angry because no matter who's in office, and this is just the reality of it, like it or not, they believe, I think you guys believe, we're being told to accept conclusions without being permitted to examine any process that has produced them, right? It's like, how are we even getting these bills in Congress where none of the stuff in the bill, I don't even want it voted on. First of all, I don't even want, it's like every time somebody asks me, what do you think about the government in this new bill? And I'm like, no, I don't even let them finish. I'm like, no, if it includes the word government and voting on, I'm done. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, were we a part of the conversation about these flock cameras, for example?
No, we didn't get to vote. The people didn't get to vote on that, right? So we're told trust the flock cameras because it makes the police's job easier. I'm sorry, but just because it makes your job easier doesn't make it okay to violate my rights. Okay, I'm sorry. You have to actually do your job and get off your butt. You know what I mean? You have to actually do some investigation as a police officer. My bad. We're told trust the election officials, trust the intelligence agencies. They have our best interest in mind. Trust the courts, trust Congress, trust the experts. And the Q operation is doing a beautiful job, in my view, of exposing all of this. That doesn't mean it's pretty. And also, I don't want anybody to mistake my angst against the way certain players and politicians and certain people in this whole movie that's playing out. I don't want you to mistake that for, I don't I don't believe that this is going to be a good final outcome for the people. I do, but I don't agree with how a lot of things are happening. And I know that some of it is necessary to really wake most of the public up. But, you know, to get back to that original question, how do we get to that trust, right? Trust is not a command. You can't just say, trust me. That's what they're doing. They're just trust me. It's not you can't just tell me to trust you and then I trust you. Trust is the natural consequence of transparency, real, actual transparency.
You sound like a panicking, Ethan.
Yeah, accountability. God forbid we have actual accountability and equal treatment under the law, right? You know, when government officials demand trust while they're simultaneously withholding records, redacting stuff, resisting audits, over classifying information, protecting insiders, changing procedures without adequate public scrutiny, or investigating ordinary citizens more aggressively than powerful officials. Distrust is not, I'm not being irrational because I distrust when all this is going on. That should be predictable. Everyone should be like, well, yeah, obviously Ethan distrusts this. Everybody should. So here's where we also must be disciplined too. One more quick thing. Distrust alone is not proof of every allegation, and suspicion is not evidence. So don't mistake anything I'm saying for me being a skeptic and questioning things of making accusations. I'm not. You know, anger, no matter how it's justified or how you try to justify it, it cannot become an excuse for abandoning due process or turning against one another. And I see that has been a lot of that's been happening. I feel like that's the plan of the cabal to infiltrate, and the intelligence agencies to infiltrate and create that anger and that infighting, because it creates the division. It's classic divide and conquer. So the objective shouldn't be, actually, if you want to learn, here's how we fix this. Not to be to replace blind trust in government, because you can't just do that. Because then what are we doing? Replacing it with blind trust and a counter narrative? Like, that's not working either, obviously, right? The objective should be to create a system. We're in a way, at least a little bit, we're going to have to burn it to the ground, at least part of it, to create a system in which neither kind of blind trust is actually necessary. Real transparency is the only way forward.
Yeah, man, I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. And, you know, and that's one of the great paradoxes of the Q operation, is because people seem to think that you either trust in the plan or you don't. You either trust in Trump or you don't. You see that kind of
right. But whose version of the plan? There's a lot of versions of the plan.
Well, that's exactly right. But I think also in the grand scheme of things, we all recognize that we're being subjected to repetitive psyops on a loop over and over and over and over and over. It's like this relentless cycle of psychological operations that I believe are benevolent. Don't get me wrong. But on the other hand, it's very difficult because like these psyops are all rooted in deception. Okay.
Yep.
It's very difficult for me to have any kind of blind trust or blind faith in something when I'm constantly being deceived, even if that deception I believe is being done for all of the right reasons. And that's where it's kind of broken down for me a little bit, which was, I mean, I quite honestly believe that that they're sending us mixed messages, like I said a little bit earlier, in order to force us to start to engage in critical thinking and actually question Trump and question the white hats. Even, I mean, you can believe and you can trust and you can support, but that doesn't mean that you should ever stop being vigilant, that you should ever stop asking questions. Right. And so that's why on the one hand, they're putting out all of these memes and saying, trust the plan, don't be a panicking, trust Trump, blah, blah, blah. They're showing all that. But then on the other hand, they're in terms of their actions and their policies, they're doing things that are completely unaligned with trying to push us in the direction of blind trust. And I don't think that it's a healthy thing to ever engage in a pattern of just believing what you're told simply because a cult of personality has been developed over these last several years. And that's what's happened with Trump. So it's like, but a lot of folks out there don't really seem to be able to hold those two concepts at the same time. It's like they feel like they just have to either completely trust no matter what happens, no matter how bad the optics are, no matter what the existential threats might be. And Ethan's laid out a whole bunch of them tonight. I mean, they go on and on and on in terms of reverse engineering what the cabal wanted to do to us and this exposure operation. There's a real danger, I feel like, is that, you know, we're kind of reverting back to being asleep, but just at a different level. You know, we're being asleep in a different way if we ever stop demanding accountability, transparency, justice, etc. And it's shocking to me, quite honestly. And I've mentioned this on a couple of recent shows, that the same people who back in 2020, back in 2021, or even earlier with COVID, who were demanding arrests, saying, we want accountability, we want justice, we want it now. A lot of the same people have been so thoroughly brainwashed that they'll now call you a panicking.
Yeah. I think MAGA has the battered wife syndrome.
Honestly, man, I mean, it's like, I don't want to throw, you know, I don't want to throw shade on anyone, but being a somewhat of a public figure, and I come out and I make comments on things, I do my commentary. And if you even venture upon even my mild criticism or skepticism about what the optics are, or perhaps just pointing out that, hey, just so you're aware, this could go sideways very easily.
Yeah.
Which Ethan does without a problem. You get met with a level of vitriol in this community that's kind of shocking.
Yeah. I'll say this, if I may, you know, something else we're not even talking about is, where do our morals and values start to align? It's like, it's one thing to want to go and repair the medical system and clean that up and have transparency there, have transparency in government, have transparency in finance, have transparency, right? But I don't share the same morals and values as these people that go around saying, you know, kill your baby. I just, I don't see how I can live in a society with people like that. So where does that divide get solved? You know what I mean?
That's a tough one, Matt, because here's the problem. Do you want freedom or not? Once you answer that question, now you're going to have to swallow tough pills on both sides, no matter how you answer the question. If you want somebody to babysit you and live in a fascist or a communist society, well, you might get what you want if it's your version of that big government control. Right. But if not, then, well, it's not going to be a good time for you. So if you go to the other side, which is where I am, giving people ultimate freedom like our founders originally wanted, then you're going to have to accept the fact that it is none of the government's business trying to legislate morality or regulate safety. Those are the two things you're going to have to let go of and understand. There's always going to be people out there that are going to do things you don't like, you don't agree with, but you have to understand you don't have the right or authority to arbitrarily tell them what to do or hire men with guns to tell them what to do and enforce it with violence, because now you're no better than the Chinese communists. Now you're no better than the Nazis or the the Russian communists or any of these people, because now you're just a guy with a bunch of ideas. They're yours, they're your opinions. And even if you're right, you're still enforcing your ideas with violence, and that makes you just as bad as them.
100%. And I'm not trying to get into an abortion debate here. That's just one example. But, you know, I believe that, you know, a fetus is a human. I believe that that baby,
of course,
should be born. Now, granted, if it's rape or incest, which is a very, very small percentage of abortions, right? This is a statistic that gets skewed. This is a talking point of the left, of course. But, you know, I don't think, you know, that's where you get into the debate of, you know, does that baby have rights? I think it does. And I do think that, you know, power, as they say, derives from the end of the barrel of a gun. And at the end of the day, I think it's a sick and disgust. I think it's against God's will. I think it's against human rights.
Well, and God's going to sort it all out at the end. But I'm not willing in this short lifetime to live under tyranny just to make sure that every single person is trying not to abort a baby, because they're going to find ways to do it on the black market anyway. You know that, Matt. That's what created. The drug war is all about literally just creating a black market for drugs, and now it's worse than it was before. You'll probably actually end up making abortions even worse. Let God sort it out later, because you need to worry about you. I need to worry about me. And the best thing we can do is be the light, be the change that we want to see in the world, and lead by positive example, because I think you'll win more souls to the right side doing that, rather than trying to legislate morality and regulate safety.
It's a great point.
Well, very well said, gentlemen. And all right, so what I want to do here, and just so folks know, I'm kind of piloting something. I'm using StreamYard, which I always do, but I'm also using Rumble Studio. And we're going to pause here for just a moment so I can talk a little bit about Rumble Wallet. Actually, they've been kind of bugging me to do this ad read, because this is, I guess, becoming increasingly popular. They really want folks to know about this. So let's talk about this for just a moment. Now, big topic of our conversation tonight is how much control do you have over various different aspects of your life. But we'll just talk about money for a moment. And of course, Matt's going to build upon that a little bit later in the show. But technology has changed absolutely everything. And now it's changing the way that money works. We've talked about this quite a bit on the show. Crypto started as kind of a niche way back in, was it Bitcoin came around? It was like 2007, 2008. But now you fast forward to 2026, it's going mainstream. Lots of talk about the Clarity Act. But the whole idea is that faster payments, more control, fewer middlemen, more transparency, a decentralized system is always a good thing. So this isn't hype. This is where things are going. And getting started today is actually easier than you think. With Rumble Wallet, you can buy Bitcoin. You can hold dollar-backed stable coins. You can even own digital gold backed by real gold all in one place. So what it is a non-custodial crypto wallet, which means that you and not a bank or a platform control access to your funds. And the setup is very simple. It connects with MoonPay. I've actually bought some crypto from MoonPay before. They're pretty good. You can use your debit card. You can use your credit card. You can use your bank account and be up and running in just a couple of minutes. And they're doing a promo right now for a limited time. You can start your wallet with $10 in US stablecoin by downloading Rumble Wallet and entering my exclusive promo code, which is Underground10 when you sign up right now. You can even use your Rumble Wallet to support your favorite Rumble creators like me, of course, directly. So if you do this now, you can actually on the screen, hopefully it's showing up there, the promo code. Can you guys see the promo code? I'm sorry, the QR code?
On the screen? No, I don't.
No, you guys can't see it. Let me see it. Let's check on Rumble to see if people can see it. There's a bit of a delay here. And this was one of those technical things I was worried about. I wasn't sure if this was going to actually work, but it is showing up does appear to be showing up on Rumble Studio. So I'm not really sure. I'll have to talk to them about it, but there's a QR code. But in any event, if you can't see the QR code, you can click the link in the description. You can go to wallet.rumble.com/underground. Again, that's wallet.rumble.com/underground and download the Rumble wallet. And from there, you can set up your wallet. You can enter promo code Underground10 and you can get your $10 in US stablecoin. And this is a limited time offer. So you have to act now, take control of your money, get started with Rumble Wallet today. So I appreciate everybody indulging me with that. And we are going to continue now and talk a little bit more about what these two gentlemen on the screen have to offer you all in the audience. As a matter of fact, Matt has a special for us as well. I wasn't sure if that was going to happen, but he'll talk about that. But I think what we'll do first is we'll go to Ethan. I want to pull up the Syrona page, and you can see the link to that directly in the description of the video, and have Ethan talk a little bit about his newest products, which we mentioned a little bit earlier in the show, and just talk a little bit about what folks can get if they take advantage of the promo code, which I'm going to put on the screen right now. So take it away, brother.
Yeah. And what I want to point out, well, first of all, I always want to make sure everybody knows that I don't ever make any medical claims. Syrona and myself, nobody over here on this side, not even Ben or Matt, are trying to make claims of practicing medicine or treating, curing, or preventing any disease. That's not what we do, because I don't believe that healing was ever actually about fighting disease anyway. I think it's about restoring coherence, not attacking symptoms, not even suppressing chemistry or even manipulating biology, because everything in existence is vibration. And Syrona started at the biochemical level. In fact, we went straight nano because the cabal was going to the nano level, and which nano is just a size. That's all it is. It's 1,000 times smaller than a micron. So the cabal was shrinking things down to a nano level. So I'm like, well, why don't we do that with nutrients? So we did that, and it's great, and it's absolutely amazing. I mean, you can grab, the nano glutathione, which goes straight into the bloodstream sublingually in the mouth, just like going to a clinic and getting an expensive IV that does the same thing, or the NAD plus, or any of the other things that we have. It's the bioavailability of it is off the charts compared to anything else. There's nothing like it. So there's really no competition. But we decided recently, and when I say recently, I mean in the last few years in the background, we started doing research into cymatics and into the quantum realm. And we found a rare earth clay with, or I'm sorry, a raw earth clay with rare microcrystals in it that will actually hold a specific cymatic frequency and a biophotonic frequency seemingly indefinitely. We haven't noticed any drop in it. So what we do is we take this clay, and you're looking at it there on the screen in the jar. I've got one here without the label on it, in the amber jar, and then also in the black tube. That's the gel version of it. You can rub on your skin. But the powdered clay with the microcrystals in it, you're going to mix it up in water and you're going to drink it, or you can put it on your body. I make a mud mask out of it sometimes, put it on my pineal gland. I use it as a mask on my face. You can put it on your pets. It really helps them. But the secret to it, it's not even the clay. The clay's not even, I wouldn't even say the clay's special. It's raw earth clay, but the microcrystals in it are special because they're able to capture that frequency. But you're not even after the microcrystals. You're after the frequency itself, the field itself, because that's what tunes the body. Again, everything in existence is vibration. Your cells vibrate, the organs vibrate, your thoughts vibrate, minerals vibrate. And that's where we really figured out we were onto something. We need a mineral carrier to actually get these frequencies to remain stable, just like we stabilized glutathione in a nano suspension that nobody else was able to figure out. Ours has a true 2-year shelf life. No one else even comes close, not even a fraction of it. So we stabilized frequencies now in a specific microcrystal. And those vibrations and those frequencies now, it's literally like carrying a med bed around in a bottle. And you can drink those. You can rub it on yourself. The gel obviously is easier to rub on yourself. Matt, you've heard Scott talk about it. He raves about it because he has lots of aches and pains. And he's been rubbing the gel. And now all the gel is just a gel version of the powdered clay. It's the same thing. But he rubs it on his arms and shoulders and joints and stuff. And he tells me all the time, it's like, I got pain, and everybody, I mean, even myself, if I'm out here on the farm, shoveling gravel, mulch, dirt, working on the tractor all day, building stuff, sometimes I overdo it with my back or my knees or elbows or whatever. I put the gel on there. I drink some of the clay. Within 30 seconds, all the discomfort's completely gone, and it'll last for the day after, and sometimes even the day after that.
But, and Ethan, if I may chime in, I talk to a lot. We have a lot of cross audiences, right? And remember, I pretty much take all my own calls. But I just want to tell the audience this is like, I get calls from people, and your Syrona comes up, your stuff. And I'm telling you, man, there are so many people and this is not me just trying to give you a plug, and I'm happy to do it, obviously, but so many people have benefited from taking your stuff. Yeah. And I talk to them personally. When we're talking about gold and silver, we're talking about this stuff too at times. And it's amazing. And I love the spray. I'm telling you, everybody, this is one go-to. I have this on auto bill amongst some other stuff, but this is my go-to.
Yeah. I love the glutathione skin product is incredible. I use that on my face multiple times a day. And Ethan, you actually mentioned the sunburn thing. One of my kids actually got a sunburn over the 4th of July.
Yeah.
And it was pretty bad. And I sprayed the skin stuff on him
it's unbelievable.
The next day.
I'm telling you, man, I wasn't making it up.
I wouldn't have believed it.
I personally attest to it. From my mouth to God's ears, this stuff is unbelievable.
The reason it works, again, is because it's nano sized, but there's a lot of companies now trying to copy us.
Let me pull that
and well, this is nano. First of all, most of them aren't even real nano size. Second of all, they haven't even stabilized the nano, but once you figure out how to nano size stuff, now you got a huge obstacle to overcome and figuring out how to stabilize it. Most people can't even figure out how to nanosize it, let alone how to stabilize it. So don't be fooled by knockoffs and companies claiming to be nano. I'm telling you, I'm in the industry. We're at the top of it. I know how this stuff works, and I know what these guys are doing out there. They're just claiming nano, and their stuff has better bioavailability just because they know now people are hearing about stuff like Syrona, and then they want to sell you something cheaper that doesn't work. This is the real deal. And so anyway, nano stuff aside, I want to talk about that promo real quick.
Yeah,
it is great. I don't want to dismiss it. That stuff is amazing. I mean, it was one of our first products actually, and it's one of the most powerful still. But the biophotonic somatic gel and clay powder, we've literally gone to the quantum level with this stuff. You know, Nikola Tesla was famous for saying, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. That's precisely what we did with this. You know, and modern, the modern food system out there and modern medicine, even, it's supposed to help you. It's actually become chemical warfare. But I believe we have cracked the initial point, and this stuff's already super powerful and it's just going to get better. But we've cracked the initial point of entering into the future of frequency with medicine. That is what CYMARA and REDOX does. Everyone's waiting on med beds. You don't have to wait anymore. You don't have to get in a bed. You just carry it around your purse or your backpack or whatever you got. The body is an electromagnetic field. That's why this works, because what it does is it helps your body retune and realign with the proper frequencies so the cells can communicate with each other. The redox signaling between all the cells is better, and the actual functioning and repair and energy levels of the cells themselves become better. So everything in your body and the whole experience of just life in general becomes better, but it helps the body heal itself. So it's a very unique supplement. And the only reason we have two different ones for is because one of them you need to rub on your skin or muscles, joints, whatever. And the other one, you need to drink it. Or you can make a mud mask out of it if you want. But that's really what it does. I mean, this is literally quantum medicine. It's actually here. We're not waiting on it. It's here.
Incredible.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So,
and
so
we
the
do have
special-
promo codes for it too.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So this is the ticker that you can see on your screen at the
Yep.
bottom.
And guys, just so you know, this is just for Patriot Underground viewers, and we're not doing another. We are not doing another promo for CYMARA and REDOX again. And again, I want to preface it with this: everything's been shipping out this week because we finally got the labels we needed fixed. So if you were waiting from the initial pre-launch with that discount, your stuff's either shipped out yesterday or it's getting shipped out today. Worst case scenario would be tomorrow, because we have a lot of orders that we're piling up, and we apologize for that. But again, I let people know it's a pre-launch. That's how pre-launches work. I think we did pretty good 3 weeks into this. I mean, I've ordered some pre-launches from some companies online, and I've waited months for stuff. So I don't think 3 weeks is all that bad, but I want to let you guys know where we're at with it. So you'll be getting it here real soon. But anything ordered as of right now with this promo code, it's going out this week as well. So here's your promo code. You've got two options. You can either do Patriot 15, and that doesn't have anything to do with the CYMARA or REDOX, even though that's the exciting new stuff, but you could use it for this too if you want. But Patriot 15 promo code will give you 15% off of any order in the store. It doesn't matter what you put in your cart.
That's
but
awesome, dude.
This offer is only good for the first 50 people who use the code. There's only 50 coupons for it. Okay. And once those are gone, they're gone. So if you go and put in Patriot 15 to check out, if you waited too long, all the coupons are gone. It's not going to work. But the one that's actually unlimited is PatriotBOGO. That's the other promo code. You use PatriotBOGO with that third one to the right, REDOX pack. It works with that one specifically, REDOX pack. It's one of the clay powder in the amber jar and one of the gel in the tube. And you can put as many as you want in your cart. You can put 100 of them in there. You can get like a $4,000 hookup if you want. You put 100 of them in your cart and use PatriotBOGO. You're going to get essentially the equivalent of if you were to order just one of these CYMARAs by itself, totally free. And there's no limit to that. So essentially you're getting the REDOX, you're ordering that, and you're getting a CYMARA free with it. So we've reduced the cost of the whole package to make sure that part of it is free. So again, unlimited, no limit to that one. Make sure you cash in on it because this does expire in 7 days. The end of the month, that's it on both of them. But I guarantee you that Patriot 15 one's going to expire real fast because 50 people are going to jump on that real quick. So make sure you get those orders in.
Yep, absolutely. This is, like I said, folks, you're definitely going to want to take advantage of this. 15% off of your entire order. I don't think we've even had a special that good.
No, that's the steepest one we've done. And part of the reason was, even though I know we didn't do anything wrong, I know there's people getting antsy about their orders. It was a pre-launch. I think some people didn't hear it maybe, but it's just an extra extension of gratitude for your patience and for, supporting Patriot Underground's channel and for supporting Syrona. So that's a steep discount. And guys, that's steep for us. A lot of companies, that's nothing for them. They'll do a 25% discount, never blink. You know why? Because they've jacked their prices up so high. We're a nonprofit, so a 15% discount is huge for us. I mean, that is we're not pulling anything off of that.
If I were you folks, I'd be on the website right now and putting an order together to make sure that I'm one of those first 50 people. Honestly, because you're not going to get a better deal. Don't get me wrong, Ethan loves to cook up promos, but this is by far the best special that he's done. You got to be quick and you got to move on it fast.
100%.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
I'm doing it right now myself.
There you go.
I want to try the REDOX. I haven't tried the REDOX yet, Ethan.
He's going to get $4,000 worth of free CYMARA. Knock up that shelf. I know you got room for it. You got to move your guns and ammo over, but you can make some room for some CYMARA.
There's no room. There's no room left.
Well, while Matt is working on his order there, maybe hopefully he can multitask here, and I know he's really good at that. We've got another special that Matt is going to tell you about, but before, I'll just kind of give you the floor, and you can tell folks what that is, and when at the appropriate time, I'll put the ticker up there. But just talk a little bit about what you do at Verity, why you've been so popular with the Patriot community, particularly with my audience. There have been so many folks out there who have given me great feedback. In fact, I've never really seen anybody complain about Matt or say anything bad about him. It's just the opposite. People are saying he's a stand-up guy. I would do business with him again in a heartbeat. Highly recommend, on and on and on. So tell us a little bit about Verity, about why. I mean, again, we talked about the bond market earlier, and we had historic highs back in the beginning of the year. There's been quite a dip. So put that into words for folks, into perspective of why this is the moment. While everybody else is in summer mode and, not really paying attention or following that typical market psychology, which is people like, we've all seen those memes of like, $50 silver, nobody's in line, but $100 silver, there's like a herd of people.
Exactly.
Typical market mentality is people chase the asset on the ascent, as opposed to the smart money, which sees the good entry points. And we happen to be in a really great one right now, not just in terms of price, but in terms of what's happening with the bond market and, of course, geopolitically as well. So over to you, my man.
Well, we're fighting the deep state, and it's on many fronts, as we've been talking about throughout the show. And really, we have to get rid of these short positions. We have to get rid of the paper market that prices gold and silver, right? When you look at spot price, that's the derivative price of gold and silver. That's paper. That's the banks just making up whatever number that they want to concoct. And they have ways of shorting it, making money, right? It's a racket. You're dealing with the mafia, right? The good news is that, we know everything's manipulated, but gold and silver are manipulated to be of lower value, as opposed to a place like the stock market, which are rigged to be of way higher value. So you're buying an undervalued asset. Even if you bought, with premium, you're probably looking at 130 and change at the beginning of the year for Silver Eagles. Those people have nothing to worry about. You might even see the price of silver continue to go down. Why? Because really the goal here is to get this stuff priced outside of the commodity. You want a free and fair market. So the only way to do that is to get gold and silver taken off the commodities exchange and priced outside of that, free and fair, whatever somebody's willing to pay for it. That's where I think you're going to get the $500 and $600 silver. And I think what these price reductions, these phony and manipulated price reductions really represent is, I think one of the agendas behind that is to get the weak hands out, is to get people to call me up and say, Matt, I got to get out of this. I'm losing my shirt. No, you hang in there. You hang in there. This is just this needs to happen. And let me tell you something. If the price goes down to $20 an ounce for silver, the miners are going to stop mining it. They're going to say, to hell with this. We know that this stuff's worth 120. We've already seen it. So what does that do? That's going to dry up the product inventory in the marketplace. You're going to wind up having 2-month wait times. The premiums to get the stuff are going to be what it is right now anyway. You're going to wind up paying $60, $70 for an ounce of silver. This is the time to do it. This is the calm before the storm in the financial market. So really, I just tell people, it's like, I have inventory at my office. I'm sitting here in my house right now, but my office is, 2 exits down off the 101. I have inventory that I bought in there at $90 and $100 an ounce. I'm not panicking. Why would you? And it's a tremendous amount of inventory. I don't mind, because I know what's taking place right now is it's psychological to get people to the weekends out. And it's in order to free up some silver supply so that some other rich guy out there can go and buy up when they need to. This is by far the best time to get involved in precious metals. And I think as we get closer to the election, as this the bond market, the bond fraud starts to come out, people are going to be looking for alternatives other than keeping money in the bank. I assure you of that. Trust will be lost between people and their government, people and their banks. And I think the only way to restore that, and I love the crypto market, I love XRP, I love Bitcoin, I love it all. But the only way to do that is to have something, it's the old fashioned way, is to have something tangible. So I just encourage everybody, certainly IRAs, 401ks, that's great. I mean, absolutely solidify your retirement accounts, especially if you're in stocks, bonds, mutual funds. Get out of that stuff. Solidify this stuff so that when we see this new system, right, Trump's going to come in here with a completely new system. And I think that system is going to be a level playing field, right, as we know from the Q boards. So at that time, that's where you're going to start deploying your gold and silver. Just like you stake your crypto, you're probably staking your gold and your silver. Maybe you never get rid of this stuff. Maybe you're just lending it out. So I think it's a great opportunity for people. It's constitutional. Like you pointed out, Patriot, I always recommend United States coin, silver eagles, gold eagles. And what we'll do for viewers is, let's give out a tube. I don't know. Do you have an email address that people can contact you, Patriot, or do you want them to contact me directly?
Yeah, my email address is always been available to people, so we can use that. It's Patriot Underground 2021. That was the year I started my show. Patriot Underground 2021.
Put in an email, your full name, your address, your phone number. You can, I'll call you, verify, in your email. I need your email address so you get some tracking. We'll send out a coin, 20 coins to the first 20 people that do it. So you can give away about, whatever it is, $1,200, $1,400 of silver. We'll give that out. Definitely check out Ethan's stuff because I'm a huge believer in the Syrona products. I mean, I got to tell you, this stuff's really been. I have fair skin and I go out in the sun a lot here. And let me tell you, it's unbelievable. Support Ethan. His stuff is unbelievable. Support the Patriot movement. Support whoever you can. Support the shows. But and then anybody doing larger amounts, IRAs, 401ks. I'll tell you this, Patriot, because we were trying to have a promo. Let's give out like some JFK Jr. coins, stuff that like no one has that are going to be worth a fortune in the future. I'll give away some art pieces to people that do retirement accounts and things of that nature.
So you want folks to how do they go? Because this is an incredible.
Give away a survival guide to the future. Let's give away a George magazine in February 1990. Let's just do it. Why not?
All right. So
I've got so much of this stuff. I want to give it. I want to give it to the people that appreciate. And the people, by the way, if you have the means to buy silver, don't go after this. Give this to the people that don't have the means. I'd like to talk to obviously rich people because obviously you make a bigger commission. But at the same time, I want to talk to the people that don't have the means, and I want to give them a leg up and a nice little commemorative piece. We'll do something nice for you. Just leave it with me, man. I love doing this stuff, and while we're on that subject, the Patriot community, your viewers, Ethan's viewers, these people have been so good to me. I almost feel like it's the least I could do, and I love doing it. I'm in a giving mood.
Well, I'm just like psyched for my audience right now because they're getting some serious.
Oh, let's get you two knuckleheads something too. Let me send you guys.
You reap what you sow, Matt. That's why Syrona gives so much, and that's why I made the company a nonprofit. I mean, with the technology that we have with our nanotechnology and our biophotonic and our cymatic technology, now no one's touching it. I could have made a fortune if I wanted to get rich and start this with a bunch of big board members and high rollers and stuff. I wanted to bring it straight to the people and make sure everyone got the best, and we can never be bought out because everything's in a trust.
No, Ethan, you're doing an amazing job, man. I absolutely salute you. And I think it's about intent. I was talking earlier about morals and ethics, and you said, Patriot, be the change you want to be. And I know it's kind of a cliche statement we hear, but it's true. It's very true. Yeah. And I want to take care of our people as best we can. And let's do a survival guide to the future for somebody's IRA. So whoever out there has retirement accounts, that magazine will probably be worth. Maybe I'll send the two of you one as well.
Nice. Yeah, I'll take one. Well, Matt, I'll tell you something. As much as you like our skin spray, I've tried it. It doesn't work on neck beards. You still have to shave.
Do I have a neck beard? All right.
No, I'm just saying. I had one the other day, and I'm like, how many times a week do I have to shave with a neck beard? It doesn't work on neck beard. You got to shave.
So, all right. So what do folks have? Because you asked for my email, I was kind of distracted with something. So what do folks have to do to get to take?
We're going to give out 20 individuals, so 20 people will get 1 ounce silver American Eagle. We'll give those out. We'll come out of this tube. I don't have a tool to open the top, but we'll mail it out. We'll cover the shipping. Don't worry about it. Just put your name, address.
To contact you on the number on the screen there.
Yeah, they could also they could contact me directly. It's just my first name, Matthew, MATTHEW, at veritymetals.com. You can email me directly or send it to pay. We'll figure it out. We'll do something nice for everybody.
All right. I love it. Well, hopefully you folks are jumping on this stuff. Let me see here. I'm going to check my email. Yeah, it looks like we've already got a couple of people who have jumped on the Syrona
Beautiful.
special.
Send it my way. We'll get it out to you next week.
And we've also got, I just got an email as well from somebody named Deborah who is interested in the silver. So, Matt, I will, give me your email address one more time.
My first name, Matthew, MATTHEW.
Yeah.
I don't know why people spell with 1 T these days.
I've seen it happen.
Where did this come from?
It's a lot weirder than that. Dude.
At veritymetals.com.
Neckbeard at veritymetals.com. you need to make that a redirect for your email.
I honestly, yeah.
All right, I'm going to go ahead, Giselle, I'm sure you're watching right now. I'm going to go ahead and forward this to Mr. Neckbeard over here.
He does not have a neckbeard. I would say I had a neckbeard. Maybe you do.
It's a little stubble. It's a little stubble.
I had one a couple of days ago. I get tired of shaving it. It's so annoying.
Yeah, you get lazy. I've been in the pool a lot, because things tend to slow down during the summer a little bit. I mean, we're still pretty big for the summer. We're actually very busy, but
that's what I need to come up with Syrona is something that stops hair growth, so you don't have to shave anymore.
Yeah, Nair.
Nano Nair. Yeah.
All right, so we got Matt on record. He doesn't think that we're going to have midterms. I've actually seen a couple of people in the audience post comments saying they believe that that's the real meaning of 11.3. The Law of War Manual. Of course, this has been an ongoing conversation for years. I'm remaining skeptical. I would love that to happen. Ethan, your take, man. What do you think? It's going to be business as usual, or
I think so because again they hijacked the system a long time ago. They've been controlling it. I don't think, the powers that be or were, or however you want to look at them, I don't think much is really going to change because they've learned how to manipulate the system as it is, and they're pretty comfortable with it. So, until you actually see the pitchforks and the torches come out and the AR-15s come out, I don't think you're going to see anything real dramatic other than stuff that's pretty institutional. Now you might see a lot of rare things happen, but I don't think you're going to see anything dramatic until the people have had enough. And I personally think that's where Q is going with this. I think that was the whole point of it. It was an intentional psyop to get everybody to wake up and overthrow the system and start over. That's really what it's all about at the end of the day. The Bible was the same thing. A lot of people are like, well, what do you think about the Bible? I'm a Bible scholar. I teach it all the time. But the Bible is also a psyop. You know why? Because it's targeting you. It's targeting everybody else. If it doesn't work on you psychologically, then it's not working. That's what a psyop is. It's a psychological operation. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's like a gun. Guns are not good or bad. It's whoever's using them.
The tool.
And
right.
the Q operation is, just like the Bible, a psychological operation. It's a psyop, and I believe it's going to work. It's just a question of when are things really going to pop off. I really think Matt probably thinks it's going to be more quelled or a little more, sequestered or secluded. I think at some point we're going to have just an unhinging that's going to happen, and that's one of the reasons why
I'm with you on that, Ethan. I think it's going to be an unhinging. I think it's going to get violent.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But honestly, I hate to say it, but I think Q knew this. There was no other way. When Q said the only way is military, certainly, I'm hoping at this point, certainly people aren't obtuse enough to think that Q meant the military-industrial complex. I'm really hoping people are not obtuse to think that's what Q meant, because it's not going to happen with the military-industrial complex. It's going to happen with the original military, the militia, we the people, the same military that it happened with John or with George Washington and all of our founding fathers. That's the military they were referencing.
So what does the U.S. military do if it comes to that point? Because we've
I
talked.
think half of them are going to side with us. I have a lot of
it's
friends
gonna
and
be a half.
family still in the military, and I think half of them are going to side with us. And there's not even that many people. If you count everybody, every single person in the military right now, it's only a little over 2 million. And if half of them side with the American people, and you got a good, I mean, if everybody gets good and ticked off, you got at least a easy 30 million Americans, maybe 40 or 50 million. And then you throw in half the military with it, it's automatically over with. I don't even think it'll get a little bit bloody and a little bit chaotic, but the point is it'll be over pretty quick. It'll be like an NBA team versus a middle school basketball team. That's what's going to happen.
You think it's actually going to come to that? We're going to see some violence?
I think eventually it has to. Otherwise, nothing's going to change. You're going to see one of two things. Either people just go along to get along and continue that way, and it's just going to continue to get worse. And eventually it's going to reach a point where there's no turning back and we're just done. And everyone's going to have to just go live in the wilderness. Or we're going to have enough people that finally stand up and say enough is enough, draw a line in the sand like our founders did, and actually take our freedom back, take our country back, because that's the only way you can legitimately do it. There's no corporate institution, structure, organization, military, government, political party. None of those people are working for you. None of those people are working for the general overall freedom of the people. Only the people can do that for themselves. It's called self-governance for a reason.
Matt, your thoughts? I mean, I know you guys, because Ethan, you've interviewed Juan a lot, many times. And I remember hearing him say at one point that the military intervention is going to be ultimately to prevent or to stop a civil war. I do recall him talking about that. And I know, Matt, you've spoken to Juan several times as well. What are your thoughts on what Ethan just laid out there? I mean, do you think we're going to see things get to that point, or are we going to just like go up to the precipice and not into the abyss? I mean, what's your take?
I think Ethan,
Matt, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Matt, can I say one quick thing before you answer that?
Please.
I can tell you, Ben, I've got active duty family members and federal government family members that work with the military, some of them with top secret security clearance. I've had people in my family who actually used to rubber stamp approvals and denials for top secret security clearance, SCI security clearance, NATO security clearance. And talking to all of them right now, the consensus is this: the military is truly split, and most of them are ready to just go the F off right now. So no matter what is about to happen, I don't know. I'm just saying, to put it into proper perspective, this isn't coming from my opinion. This is coming from the mouths of people who are actually in government and federal active duty right now in the military.
Okay, fair enough.
I fully agree with you, Ethan. I think it's going to get real nasty. It's going to get real violent. Just remember, we're going to probably have it good over here. I think Europe is really the place to watch for some really. They're going to have their own moment of 1776.
Probably.
I mean, I think you're going to start seeing police officers, and I'm not advocating violence or anything, but I think you're going to see a lot of these UK police officers get murdered in the street. I think you're going to see by patriots, by British patriots.
I hate to say it, but a lot of them deserve it.
It's a lot of them. That's the problem. I didn't want to say it, but you're 100% right. They deserve it. I think you're going to see the return of the IRA, the Irish Republican Army. I think they're going to make a comeback. They're already starting to burn down these migrant houses in Ireland. The people are sick of it. So I think it's going to be extremely bloody in Europe. And you just have to remember, everything's interconnected. Our financial systems, our monetary systems, they're all interconnected. This is the takedown of the deep state. The deep state controls it all. It's all being run through the Bank of International Settlements. That's the central bank of central banks. That's located over in wherever it is, Zurich or Switzerland, whatever. It's going to get real nasty. And this is why I do what I do, is because I tell people, look, I can't tell you exactly how it's going to happen. I can't tell you anything. But I can tell you this, is that it's going to sear in our minds what happened. It's going to be like the 1929 crash. We're going to be different people after this. Mm-hmm. We're going to have a different mindset. Everybody. The three of us, this audience, every single person. And those moments, those events are right around the corner. And I just tell people, prepare financially. Prepare with, my garage is right here. I got storables. I got a whole wall of storables, generators, guns, ammo. Get proficient with your weaponry. Just be ready for some big stuff, because the world's about to change. And the beauty, the silver lining is, it's going to be for the better. And I think the truly the best is yet to come. I really do believe that, and that's what keeps me positive. That's what keeps me sane. But other than that, I appreciate spending the time with you guys, and always fun to come on this show.
Same.
Well, I mean, yeah, man, I love this conversation. I think it was great because I knew we'd get different perspectives on things, and that's exactly what we got tonight. We touched upon a lot of different issues that are pressing that people are wondering about, and whether or not this plays out without a large degree of violence, which has always been sort of the premise of my understanding of the Q operation, was to try to that so much of the psychological operations and so much of the exposure and so on and so forth would get us to a place where we wouldn't have to go down that road and experience something that might come very close to looking like a full-blown civil war could start. But I've always had faith that the military would step in at the right time to be able to prevent that from spiraling out of control. But then again, I don't have a crystal ball, and none of us really have any idea of how this is ultimately going to play out and on what timeline. But one thing we can agree upon is that we're definitely getting into some very choppy waters as we get closer to the midterm elections. As and even beyond, obviously, there's going to be a lot of chaos as we go through the storm. We can hope and pray, and certainly I do, that it's going to be with a minimal amount of bloodshed and suffering. Because to me, it would seem if Q is indeed a benevolent operation, as we all agree it is, that if it was going to come down to a civil war and us just shooting each other in the street, there would have been really no reason for us to hold off on that. We could have done that 8 years ago. We could have done that a long time ago. They could have pulled that trigger at any point. So I'm still optimistic we go in a different direction. Not to suggest that I don't see the possibility that things could go sideways as well, which is why we have to be vigilant. As I mentioned earlier on in the show, in the face of uncertainty, you always have to retain a certain level of objectivity and be humble in the sense of admitting that you don't really know exactly how this is going to play out. But different opinions, different voices, and hopefully folks really appreciated this. So in closing, I mean, I always want to give my guest members an opportunity to just kind of wrap things up before I do, and then we'll end the stream. We're at about an hour and 45 minutes. I had aimed for between an hour and a half and 2 hours, so I think we're right on point here. Penny, thank you so much for being a great mod as always. Remember to hit that thumbs up button, folks, if you haven't done so already. And again, the promo code for Syrona is Patriot15. If you happen to be one of the lucky 50, the first 50 people to use it, you get 15% off of your order. And the other is, of course, the buy one, get one deal with the CYMARA and the REDOX. And that promo code is, it should be showing up any moment here. Do you remember, Ethan? What is it? Is it?
You've got Patriot 15.
PatriotBOGO. That was it.
PatriotBOGO. That's for the REDOX pack.
Right.
And it's unlimited. You're essentially getting, we call it BOGO for a reason, because you're ordering one and you're getting one, and there's no limit to it. You could literally take $5,000 worth of free, CYMARA from Syrona if you want. And I don't know how long it'll last. I don't know how fast you go through $5,000 worth of CYMARA, but it's there. But also, just so you know, it's in our terms and conditions. Don't be trying to order a bunch and selling it on Amazon and eBay, because we will find you. We have things in place, and we have ways of doing. We will find you, and you will be blacklisted from Syrona. And just don't do it.
You don't want to do that, folks. Don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But definitely take advantage, because this is an incredible deal, and that you're not going to see again anytime soon. And obviously, I'm going to have Ethan on probably once a month, and I'm sure there's always going to be some sort of a promo. But I didn't even realize that it was going to be 15% off for the first 50 people.
Yeah, I mean, we're pushing the buck there, because I mean, we have to get, even a nonprofit has to have extra on top of what it costs, obviously, to pay for operations and pay our workers and all that. So sure. when we go into a 15% discount, that's getting steep for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Exactly. So take advantage, folks. You may not see this type of a deal for a very long time. Again, the first 50 people. So Ethan, some closing thoughts, reflecting on our conversation today, and anything you want the audience to know about, anything we didn't talk about. The floor is yours.
Well, I would say this. So I think America's obviously been in a tailspin, and I don't think anybody would disagree with that, no matter what your political views are. So I think, how do we get out of that tailspin? We do it first by collectively rejecting the false choice between blind obedience and violent revolt. We've done a lot of talk about both those things today. And
Yeah.
and I'm not condoning violence. I'm just saying that I think it's probably inevitable. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But even Jesus told his disciples, if you don't have a sword, sell your coat and go buy one. Remember, the sword was the AR-15 of the time, 2,000 years ago in the Middle East, right? So even Jesus was telling his disciples to get prepared. But I think the country needs a peaceful restoration of constitutional limits, um, transparent institutions. We need to get back to local self-governance, which is why I'm building this New Earth project here in Tennessee with Sasha Stone. That's what we're doing, is local self-governance. We need to get back to equal justice and a culture that no longer treats political opponents or politicians as our enemies or enemy combatants, right? I mean, the only reason that's happening is because there is no transparency and there is no trust. So the crisis is real. And the trust increasingly depends on which party controls Washington. That's a bad problem, rather than whether institutions are actually behaving lawfully. I mean, we've gone really far sideways. But I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but Pew just found that in federal government, it remains historically low and swings sharply according to party control. Gallup also had reported that confidence has become intensely partisan. So, we're not just guessing at this. We're not just looking at it and going, that's what it looks like. We're talking about Pew polls and Gallup polls actually confirming what we're saying here. And so that means that Americans are none of us are trusting any of the rules that are in place or the structure that's in place. They're instead temporarily trusting their own team's possession of power. And that's how we got to this dangerous point. So, number one, we need to stop trying to save America through one politician. Number two, we need to replace trust with verification, actual transparency and verification. Number three, we need to create equal justice that can actually be seen. Again, transparency. And we need to break up the concentrated power. The peaceful answer is always decentralization. That's why with New Earth Project, we're setting the precedent of decentralization, localize everything. Decisions should be made at the most local level capable of handling them. Families before bureaucracies, communities before states, states before Washington, D.C., and voluntary cooperation before coercive mandates. The problem is we've stepped away from voluntarism. We now think that we can just vote. Well, whatever I believe in, I'm going to vote for my team to get in there and then force everybody else to do what I believe at the point of a gun. That's not America. That's not moral. That's not okay. I don't care what your beliefs are. I don't care if you are actually right. It's still not okay. That's not how a free republic operates. And we have to end government by emergency. They did this with COVID. And led legislating things dishonestly in Congress, which they're still doing. And a lot of that came from COVID too. We've got to stop turning on each other as fellow Americans and unfollowing people and blocking people just because they said something we don't like or not listening, because having the honest, open debate, and I appreciate you, Ben, for doing this, because there's a lot of people, a lot of people have unfollowed you, unfollowed me. But I've also gained a lot of new followers too, because there's a lot of turmoil right now. People are turning on each other, but that's got to stop. We have to use rationality and practice evidence-based skepticism. It's healthy. That's how our founders created this nation. They didn't agree on everything either. They built parallel civic capacity. America will never be, and Matt, again, you may disagree with me, but I don't think America is never going to be repaired entirely from Washington. I just don't think it can happen. We have to have full transparency. We have to be willing to debate in a healthy way and have healthy skepticism and respect each other's views. That's the only way we're going to prevent this thing from completely blowing up. Now, is that going to happen? I don't know. That remains to be seen, but that's how I see everything.
Well said, my friend. Well said. And we just got a comment or a question, I should say, from Penny Lane, my mod. Which Syrona product does Ethan recommend for pain? Well, I think that would be CYMARA, right? I mean,
yeah. Also, the Endo, our nano CBD oil with vitamin E. Use the Endo. Lewis Herm swears by it. He says he had problems sleeping. He used to even try to take sleeping pills and it didn't work. He says he sleeps like a baby now using the Endo, and it's a very, very potent nano CBD oil. So that means when you put it in your mouth, under your tongue, it absorbs instantly in the bloodstream. It's an instant effect. And then also use that CYMARA. Rub that biophotonic cymatic gel on whatever hurts, and if nothing's hurting, just at least daily rub it right on your vagus nerve, because that's the main nerve that runs through your body, and the whole entire sympathetic nervous system is connected to that, and it will put those frequencies through the whole entire system in your body, those healthy frequencies that help the body realign.
Love it. Absolutely, man. And everything you said was bang on. I mean, the whole point of this operation, in my view, has been to end the divide and conquer strategy. Yep. So that we can finally, through all of this exposure, and God willing, through getting past the exposure phase into the transparency and the justice and the accountability, that's the only thing that's ultimately going to heal this nation. And it's going to redirect our anger away from each other. And you touched upon, I mean, that's happening inside of our own community. We need to stop that. We're the leaders. Ultimately, the anger needs to be redirected at the true enemy, which is the cabal that has always sought to divide and conquer all of us. And that is truly what I believe. If you really want to put the Q operation in the proper perspective, from the 40,000-foot view, that's what the Great Awakening is all about.
Yep. Well, America needs people who remember that public officials are servants. They're not rulers. We don't need another man sitting on a throne. We fought and died for that. Our founders did in 1776. That's not what we need. We need to replace also political hatred with the discipline. We have to swallow our pride, our ego, and practice the discipline of defending liberty, even for people with whom we profoundly disagree. And that is not weakness. That's the only way the republic survives.
Well said, man. I couldn't agree more. All right, Matt, your turn, brother. Give us some final thoughts here. Again, this Matt Geiger, for those of you guys who are just tuning in from Verity Metals, and Ethan Lucas. If you've been following my show for any length of time, neither of these two gentlemen should be strangers to you. But Matt is, as I always say, the best in the business with Verity Metals. He's actually running a great promo code for everybody. So take advantage. Matt, give us some final thoughts, and we'll kind of wrap this up.
Sure. And just Ethan, I wasn't saying before that the federal government's going to solve everything. I'm totally about the local level.
Oh no, I know your thoughts.
I think we got to call in the military. I think we got to call the military and rip, especially here in Maricopa County, rip these people out of their seats and bring them to Gitmo. I just, my comment was, I think right now, really our only hope is in the federal government. As far as final thoughts, I'm going to start getting really involved in helping dog rescues. I really want to make that a big initiative for the company. If anybody out there wants to help out and chip in, you can do it directly. It doesn't have to go through us. But I really, I don't know. I mean, Ethan, you've done tremendous work with your little guys, and so nice meeting all those little puppies, man. They're all just amazing. Good God's creatures, man.
Well, they all would have went to a kill shelter, by the way, because all the no-kill shelters around here, they're all full. Yeah.
We lost Reagan yesterday, the husky. And once I started looking into this, every day there's another dog where they're looking for a home, and if they can't find the home in time, they euthanize it.
Yep.
And I really, to me, I want to make a difference in that area. To me, it's important. So I think that's going to be one of the main initiatives, if not the main initiative of Verity Metals, is to work with local dog shelters. So I'm starting with Healing Healers out of Surprise, Arizona. They're going to be my first one, and we're going to try to do a lot of great stuff for them. And then hopefully we can expand. And if people want to, do it in their own state and, find resources and whatnot, we're always happy to help. So, like I said, to me, it's important. And it's just, I think at this time where, we're trying to sort out humanity. We can't forget our little buddies. This is Daphne. I took her in a couple of years ago. She's a little Chihuahua
dog,
and she's just the most loyal little girl of all time. So
yeah, well, we gotta remember our furry friend. Look, I switched from my MAGA hat to this hat last year because I realized there's a greater focus. I think that we shouldn't even be focused on just America. We need to be focused on all of humanity. And what you're talking about, Matt, that's the kind of thing where it starts. Understanding that we have an edict and a direct from God, the creator, and he gave it to Adam. Initially, he said, you have full power, authority, and dominion in this earth, and you have stewardship over these animals. It's your job to make sure they're safe and be a good human. Make this place worth living in. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. Amen. Amen.
Yeah. I think Ricky Gervais said it best. If you don't like dogs, you can go F yourself. Something along those lines. You know, you don't like animals, something wrong with you. But anyway, call up Matt today. This is his business number, 888-470-7018. Take action now, folks. The prices are absolutely banging right now. And it looks like the bond market's going to crumble as we get closer and closer to whatever this ultimate storm moment is going to be. You're going to be happy, very happy that you took your money and you put it into precious metals, whether it's, you know, just cash you got sitting in the bank. And by the way, I'm not gonna one of these people is going to tell you completely liquidate all of your savings. No, I'm
take out a second mortgage. No,
it's wise to still hold some cash. You got to pay your bills and so forth. But in terms of your retirement savings, in terms of extra money you have in the bank, you definitely want to be holding that in gold and silver. And earlier on when Matt was talking, I showed just a couple of graphics, things that I came across on X today, all these different indicators, chart indicators. And that's not my level of expertise. I can't explain that chart in detail, but a lot of very reputable people out there are looking at the charts and seeing a major breakout possibility in the near future. So while everybody else is sleeping over the summer, you have a golden opportunity, pun intended here, to put your money in the proper position to not only ride through the storm, to transition into the new financial system, whatever that's going to look like, but also to profit from it. So, and you get a 2026 commemorative coin if you call Matt with a qualifying purchase. And again, we've talked about the promo codes for Syrona. So I just want to say once again, gentlemen, thank you for a great conversation.
Thank you.
We're going to be back on, let's see, on Monday. Our good friend Mark Abrams, his birthday. He's going to be on Patriots Across the Pond. That's Stu and Elisa. Those are the two that took over his show, Respect, that was formerly on News Treason. So they invited me on to be a part of that roundtable. I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. And the following day, I'm going to be getting back together with my good buddies, Joe and Scott from Truth Stream. That's going to be at 6 p.m. Eastern. So that's kind of a snapshot of the week. And who knows, anytime the inspiration strikes me, I might do another coffee chat. I still haven't really had the time, given all the stuff that's happening behind the scenes in my personal life, to put together a formal situation analysis report. But I do hope to move in that direction just as soon as I'm on the other side of my own personal storm here. But I really appreciate everybody's support. You guys are amazing. We're going to sign off now, but until the next time, God bless and Godspeed, everybody. Patriot out.
Thanks. See you.